I know you've been looking at your email all day to find out that the bankruptcy judge has approved the combination of AMR's American Airlines and U.S. Airways.
What was always unique about this is it was essentially a hostile takeover being done in bankruptcy court. You know, you hear of hostile takeovers, but usually they're not of bankrupt companies.
Of U.S. Airways taking over American Airlines.
Correct, because let's be clear, American Airlines is going to say all the right things, and the CEO is going to say this is a wonderful merger and it's good for everybody. But from the beginning, they did not want this to happen. They wanted to emerge on their own, and then they would go buy U.S. Airways. It was never their desire for this to be the outcome. So they got maneuvered.
Then the outcome also, the chief executive of American Airlines, who is not going to be running the new combined company,
right.
It was a pay packet for his severance that was valued at about $20 million, and the judge apparently saying, no, go back and fix that.
Right. So they didn't want that to hold up the whole merger, so that'll get taken care of at a later date. But yeah, U.S. Airways, they really kind of outmaneuvered the rivals they're now partners over at AMR.
Roger Martin, I'm wondering if you could come in on the topic of combining these two airlines. Do these kinds of mergers really work, or do you just have to strip capacity out of the system and reduce costs?
Yeah, the general answer is no. I mean, you shouldn't confuse merger with actual strategy. Right? The reason why the U.S. airline industry has been in such terrible shape is that all the companies in the industry, except one major player, Southwest, have followed the same strategy to replicate one another's activities exactly, and that is a recipe for the companies doing badly. And merging them together into big, undifferentiated companies is not going to do much.
Neil Grossman, how do you combine these two airlines and get a better airline when separately they couldn't make a go of it, or seemingly they couldn't make a go of it because they wanted this merger to happen?
Well, there were a couple of things I heard about this. One was that there was very, very actual little overlap between the two airlines.
Correct.
So in fact, you're getting a much broader, larger airline. I think in this business, in this industry, you know, size and capacity matters. So my assumption is they'll be able to you know, there'll be redundancies, there'll be efficiencies. You know, and hopefully in the long run, the extra size will provide for more profitability.
Yeah, but redundancies and efficiencies, you've got unions you've got to deal with. Right. You've got two different pilots. You got two different groups of pilots. You got different flight attendants. You got different ground crews. I mean, someone's going to lose their job. How is that growth?
Well, I mean, again, I have not looked at the exact details, but usually in a bankruptcy proceeding, some of the contracts may be restructured easier. Some of the pensions and benefit costs may be reduced. So you may end up with a more efficient airline, at least in the shorter run. I'd also ask, which I didn't see, but you know, generally in bankruptcy, you're trying to actually help the creditors and equity holders of the bankrupt airline. I'm wondering whether this was actually the most efficient, you know, solution for the existing holders of debt and equity in the original American Airlines.
Jeff McCracken?
Yeah, what I would say is the equity holders, I think, are quite pleasantly surprised. They got something here. You know, typically in a bankruptcy, the equity holders are completely flush and they get nothing. They actually did get something here.
What about the hub network? What's going to happen there? Are they going to close down some of the hubs?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. It's very early. I would be lying if I pretended like I knew exactly what they're going to do with the hubs. I know that there isn't a lot of overlap, so they should be able to fit pretty well together. And to your point on the unions, it's not like U.S. Airways has ever had extraordinarily great relationships with their unions.
Correct.
But their relationships were just this much better than AMR's. And that was important because they negotiated with the unions, got contracts with AMR's unions, and that gave them three votes on the creditors committee because the union sat on AMR's creditors committee. So it was interesting. They played the union wisely played AMR and U.S. Airways against each other and got a better contract from U.S. Airways, better, more lucrative for their members than they would have gotten from AMR.
Yeah. Roger Martin, let's say that Doug Parker, the new chief executive of American Airlines, to be called American Airlines, gave you a call and said, give me some direction for what I should do for the next 6 months. What would you say?
I would say start thinking about how you're going to be distinctive from United and Delta, and how that distinctiveness will help you also compete against Southwest. Nothing I've heard suggests that they will be any different in a meaningful way than their major U.S. competitors who look just about like them. And so it would be seek some kind of distinctiveness, because that is the only way that this merger is going to end up being of utility.
Neil Grossman, a commodity business, right?
Total commodity business. And by the way, the pattern of bankruptcy, restructure, or merge and then go bankrupt again seems to have been pretty prevalent. The question here, maybe the unions will take a different tack. If you can build an airline, make it relatively cost efficient, and make it grow over time, maybe that's actually the best outcome you can ask for. But you know, it hasn't tended to be the modus operandi of most of these companies.
Jeff McCracken, this idea that, you know, combining, consolidating the different carriers in the airline industry, meeting with U.S. government approval, are we going to see any more consolidation take place?
I think we're done with the consolidation in the domestic carriers. The sense I get is now you have to expect, or now you have to wonder, what are they going to do internationally? So I think that's the next step that you're going to see among the airlines. You know, they've done what they're going to do largely in the United States, but now they look abroad.